Okay, we're back on, people. Let's see if I can send out a new message to tell people about this new stream, because I've just created a new one. If you guys could share it as well, that'd be cool. Say hello in the chat. Hello, hello, can we hear me good? Oh, Loic's in the house. The joys of home working as the 7-year-old tries to come into the kitchen. On you go. I'm doing this now. Marley, could you hurry up? Right, let's get this started. So, Tour of Flanders 2020 preview. Not really happening, is it? But hey, let's go ahead with it anyway. We'll chat route, we'll chat weather, we'll chat favourites, we'll chat team strength, we'll chat all the normal stuff, and then you'll hear my prediction at the end. If you want to fire into the chat and let me know what you're thinking, that'd be great. The more people we get here, the merrier. If it goes well, then hey, well, why don't we do a Paris-Roubaix one next week as well? So if you're watching, say hello in the chat, hit the like button, share button. Let's get as many people in here watching as possible. But enough has been wasted. Let's go straight in. So, route, same as usual. We know what we're getting. The action will kick off on the moor, or it would have kicked off on the moor. Whether or not we get a group going at that point, we would have to wait and see, but obviously it's a really good point to expose some of the weaker riders. Then it usually kind of starts to get interesting. Kwarmont, Paterberg, Koppenberg, Tannenberg, and then back round for the Kwarmont and the Paterberg again. And then we've got that kind of flat running to home where people can, really be exposed and they can blow. Or sometimes they can hold on and do an amazing ride. Weather, Sunday's actually going to be an belter of a day over in Flanders. I think it's like 20 degrees. There's a little bit of wind around, but it's nothing really much to worry anybody about. It would have been a fantastic day for a bike race, bordering on the almost getting a wee bit hot for some of those Belgian riders. Team strength. Well, we've got to start with Quick-Step. So Quick-Step would have come here with Alaphilippe, Lampard, Stibar, Asgreen, Youngles, and my hero Tim de Klerk. That is just one hell of a strong team. Who they would be riding for? Well, I think Alaphilippe would go in as the big captain. Obviously his form before that point wasn't looking particularly good. It's difficult to say whether or not he would have kind of kicked on to improve, but I have my doubts. Asgreen won Kurner versus Kurner, very, very strong rider. Youngles, incredible rider. Stibar had a slow start to the season. I think he was having a deliberately kind of slower start to the season, so he was coming good for Flanders and then Roubaix. That's just my thoughts. But anyway you look at it, strongest team on paper without a shadow of a doubt. Ridiculously strong team. They would have controlled, they would have been in the key breakaways, they would have had a big say in the outcome of the race. They went very close in Umloop. Obviously Lampard was second. They won Kurna. It was shaping up to be another dominant season for Quick-Step. Then we've got Sunweb. Sunweb, very, very strong team. Two clear leaders, Michael Matthews, Tiege Benoit. Lots of stronger riders behind them to support, like Soren Kragh Anderson, like Jascha Sutterlin. Cannot underestimate how strong Sunweb were actually looking, and they had the perfect mix in my opinion. They have Matthews for the sprint, so if it comes back together for a group of about 15 to 20 riders, Matthews will be there. Even if it was maybe 10 riders, I think Matthews would have been there. And then you've got Benoit to attack. Second in Paris-Nice, he was coming on some great form. Massive shame for him, obviously the race isn't going ahead, but Sunweb would have been up there in most of the big moves. Those four riders I mentioned, they would have been in the front group for probably right up until about the last kind of 20k. So they would have had riders to chase down moves. They would have matched Quick-Step. Trek Segafredo, Stuyven, Pedersen, Toons. Three very, very strong riders. Stuyven obviously started the season like an absolute whirlwind. He won Umloop. He looked ridiculously strong in that race. He then carried that good form on. Pedersen did a lot of work early on in the season. Comes good in the long, tough races like he's done before here, like he did in the World Championships. And Edward Toons struggled a little bit because of his thumb injury, but by this point it should have been a bit better and he should have been up there as well. So Trek Segafredo were looking quite strong. EF, real strong team. Van Mark, Bettiol, surprise winner last year. Don't care what anybody says, his form just fell off a cliff after that point. Magnus Kort, slight debate about whether or not Magnus Kort would have been at this race. Jens Kukelaer and Sebastian Langeveld. Langeveld, who broke his collarbone, I think in, was it Beceges? He would have been arriving nice and fresh. EF would have had a strong team. Then we've got Jumbo, Van Aert, Tunison. Not as strong as the others, but Van Aert was looking nice and strong in the opening races, which was kind of a surprise after his horror crash in the Tour de France and how long he was off the bike, but he was looking good. Then we've got CCC, who we've got Van Avermaet and Trentin, two winners, two riders who would be in that front group, but when it got down to the last kind of 25k, I'm not sure would have had a lot of help chasing things back. Lotto Soudal, Gilbert, Wellens, Degenkolb. Strong team. Not as strong as they would have been if they had Benoit, but still a strong team. I have my doubts with Wellens in this type of race. I think it's just too hard for him. Degenkolb, Gilbert, you would think they would be around. Other teams who would have an interest, Bahrain, we saw a fair bit of them at the start of the season. Obviously they've got Colbrelli, they would have had Garcia Cortina, possibly Dylan Toons. They would have been in and around it without really contributing to much of a chase or kind of trying to dominate the race. NTT with Valgren and Bosenhagen. And then we've got the teams who possibly aren't as strong and they come in with solo riders who are looking to kind of use the work of others. So Astana probably would have Lysenko, Van Baal for Ineos, Terpstra for Direct Energy, Christoph, Niels Pollitt, Oliver Nassen, and then the big two, Peter Sagan and Mathieu van der Poel. Mathieu van der Poel, a lot of the race would have been featured, a lot of the race would have been focused on him. Obviously, he started the season well down in Algarve, then he missed a block because of an illness, which would have made life very difficult for him. Can he handle the distance? Obviously, he bonked in the World Championships as we got kind of towards the end. He was exceptional here last year, very unlucky after he crashed and chased back on. Other teams would not have been happy taking him round the course, obviously. Your Sunwebs, your Quick Steps, they would be looking to try and isolate him, make him do work, punish him for having a weaker team than everybody else. Easier said than done with him because he is just so ridiculously strong, but there's enough question marks around Van der Poel and his team where I wouldn't be making him the favourite for this race. Sagan, I really don't know about Sagan. I don't know if his best days are behind him. That's a dangerous thing to say. He was looking okay at the start of the season. We didn't see an awful lot of him because of the way he was coming in. I think he would be up there. Again, I don't think he would be potentially one of the big favourites. But he's a hard man to write off. You can't actually say what would happen to Peter Sagan in this race. Although what I would say is I don't think Bora were looking ridiculously strong. He wouldn't have had a huge amount of support, but sometimes that's not stopped him before either. So that's the team strength. In the chat, tell me who's the best team? Who do you think is the strongest team? Not who's necessarily going to win the race, but which team takes your fancy? A few for Quick Step. One for Sunweb. Both teams look really strong. I'll be honest, I think on paper they are the strongest teams. EF have numbers, but do they have winners? That would be my doubt about them. They've got lots of quality, but maybe not a lot of riders who you would say would win. But then that was the same position last year. We wouldn't have expected Bettiol to win. Okay, how will the race go? Well, I would imagine we would see a move on the moor. I think Quick Step would definitely be looking to try and put everybody into difficulty. They would really be wanting to isolate Van der Poel as early as possible. So I think a move would have gone in the moor, and then we would have just had to wait and see how long it stayed away for. Like the year Gilbert won, it almost came back together on the Quarmont, and Gilbert just decided to go for it from about, 55k. Whatever happened in this race, Quick Step and Sunweb would be there. They would be the men either up the road or they would be the men chasing from the peloton until potentially final 30 kilometres, I would imagine. Then we would see the attacks. For Quick Step, the riders like Asgreen, Lampart, Youngles, I think aren't as good at the very end on the Paterberg. I think those would be the riders who would go relatively early. And they're really strong to go on the flat. Remember, it doesn't always go on the climbs. Quite often it goes on the flat open roads. And if you've got somebody like Asgreen and Youngles, they can really put everybody else into difficulty and blast away. Sunweb would be looking to follow. I think, given the strengths of the teams, given the fact you've got Sagan and Van der Poel riding for weaker teams, this would be the year where Quick Step and possibly Sunweb would get riders away. Leave everybody else trying to chase, try and put the pressure on Van der Poel, make him work, make Sagan work, and then they would, I think, stay away and they wouldn't be caught. As long as they had, I think, a Quick Step rider and a Sunweb rider. You could be sure there would be somebody else in there, one or two riders, possibly somebody from EF, maybe one of those solo guys that I've mentioned, but Quick Step and Sunweb will boss the race. They'll try and make sure Van der Poel and Sagan are put into difficulty. They'll try and make sure Van Avermaet and Trentin can't just roll around as well, because they're obviously very strong, and Van Avermaet and Trentin both look quite good in the start of the season. For me, when the dust all settled, I think this was the year for Tiesj Benoot. Second in Paris-Nice, absolutely flying there. Very, very strong start to the season. He was looking good in Umloop. He obviously just missed the crucial move to go. But for me, Benoit was looking like the man to beat. Remember, this is a race he does well at. His debut, what was he, 5th, when it seemed like he was about 14 years old. I think for me this was the year where Sunweb would have Matthews in the group, Benoit would be away with one of the quick step riders, and I think he would take them on the line. That is my prediction. In the chat, come on, tell me, who do you think would have won the race? As usual, getting some stick for predicting a Benoit victory. Patrick, I don't see Seneschal. I think he's more of a Roubaix man. Oh, Oliver Nassen. Anyway, it would have been a hell of a race. I think we're all agreeing on that. The classic season this year had so many riders looking in good form, so many strong teams. We had the Van der Poel effect. We had Sagan. We had Van Avermaet and Trentin on the same team. We had Van Aert back after his injury. It was looking so good. Real shame it's not going to be. Fingers crossed we can get some racing at some point this year. Obviously there are bigger things to worry about at this point in time, but we can live in hope. Potentially August, September, October, we might see a little bit of racing, but it's not looking very likely at this point. Nice to see everybody in good spirits though. Crunchy's asking if I think they'll see it taking part later in the season. It's really hard to work out. I have a feeling that Flanders will just be cancelled. If anything was going to happen this year, I think they would focus on a Grand Tour, possibly a Tour de France. The Tour de France is the one they're all talking about. In terms of the sponsorship, that's the one they need. We've already seen CCC announce that they're going to the wall. I've heard there are a couple of other big teams very close to making that decision as well. Teams that have been around in the peloton for a huge number of years. The teams need the Tour to go ahead, but the state of France just now, it certainly isn't going to happen in July. I think it must, if it's going to happen, it would have to happen kind of August, September time, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. Obviously the teams need it. But it's not just a simple case of waiting until coronavirus goes away. It's the amount of emergency services that are required for these types of races. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see some racing back this season, but it's looking like one of those years that we might just have to tear out of the page and start again. Loy, come on the Moretti tonight, pal. Cheeky wee can of it. Retro, just like you like, retro. Crunchy, yeah, it probably would be easier to organise a one-day race than a 3-week race, but I think with the sponsorship and the money behind the Tour, I think that's the one they would look to prioritise. And no Buckfast, Crunchy, I'm far too civilised for that. It's a real shame because obviously there's no previews, there's no fun on Twitter. Everybody's going through some hard times, but we'll get through it. We'll get out the other side. SS, the podcast, yeah, I recorded one with Jasper Stuyven on Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah, it was Tuesday. His top 10 cycling moments. So that'll be getting released in the near future. And then I've got plans for a few more in the pipeline. Not going to say who they are now, but potentially maybe a commentator in there as well, just for some fun. Johannes, the Pro Conti teams, yeah, massive fears for them. If we have no racing in this year, I'm really scared to think about what cycling looks like next season in terms of how many teams there are, how many cyclists will be unemployed. It's just not looking very good at all. And like, no, I don't think I'll be doing anything with the virtual Ronda. That looks like a pile of shite to me. But time will tell. Maybe somebody will enjoy it. I do quite like the fact it's not on Zwift. That will really annoy them. Any other cycling related matters we want to chat about? It was a shame. I was really enjoying writing my previews this season. Getting loads of pros to be in them as well was a nice touch. But yeah, all that's done. And now we've just got live streams of races that aren't going to happen. Patrick, I've not actually seen the Movie Star documentary. Is it any good? Ariane, how are the pros training? Well, some of them are still smashing it out. So, like, Kess Ball, you know, I rate him an awful lot. He's still managing to get out, ride outside in Holland, as you'll know. The guys who are in Britain are still able to get out and ride on the road. So they're still kind of punching away. Those guys who are stuck in the house, it's just, I think most of them struggle to do about an hour on the fake bike. So they, even if we do restart the season, the guys who are stuck indoors are going to be miles behind everybody else. I know a few of them decided just to take like a week off, 2 weeks off, and then have just restarted fairly recently. But it's uncharted territories for everybody. Nobody kind of really knows. It'd be very hard just now being a coach, trying to kind of plan what training will look like when you don't know what you're training for. And I think keeping the motivation is also quite it's quite hard for a lot of these guys. Graham, yeah, loving my Strava work. Nice to see Mr. Youngles escaping Luxembourg today. Ariane, it was hashtag 187, was it not? It was Lons de Vries who did 8 hours on the rollers. The madman himself. Right, folks, we're going to wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed my Tour of Flanders preview 2020. Tige Benoot would obviously have been the winner. I'm gutted we don't have the race, but that is the way it's going to be. Thank you for joining me tonight. We'll see. I might do one for Roubaix next week. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the other side.